Speaker, to the Minister of Health, the $140 million deal that Ornge executives cooked up is under criminal investigation. The money that paid for that deal was raised in a public offering that featured the credentials of one of its executives, Mr. Rick Potter. The Minister knows that Mr. Potter lied about those credentials, that she knows he was intimately involved in cooking up that deal. Frontline staff, the paramedics, pilots at Ornge know Mr. Potter's record and lost confidence in him long ago. The Minister said she would fire any of her staff who did what Mr. Potter would do. Yet, rather than fire Mr. Potter, last night the Minister and her new leadership gave Mr. Potter a soft landing into another job at Ornge. I ask the Minister to explain this. How can she justify holding on to her job with such a blatant...
Thank you. I also remind this member to please wrap up as quickly as possible, and when I say stop, we stop. Minister.
Thank you, Speaker, and thank you to the member opposite for the question. This is, of course, an operational issue that human resource people in an organization make, Speaker. My job is to make sure that there is strong leadership in place. I have accomplished that, Speaker. There is new and very strong, credible leadership in place at Ornge. They will make decisions related to personnel in that organization. I can assure you, Speaker, that I do not make decisions about personnel within the organizations, the many organizations, the hundreds of organizations that the Ministry of Health is responsible for funding. Speaker, we have made important changes at Ornge, and those people are doing their job.
Thank you. Supplementary question.
Well, Speaker, given those circumstances, the Minister should take it upon herself to make those decisions if her leadership doesn't have the wisdom to do so. Here's the new job that Mr. Potter's been given. Entrench the plan that he and his friend Dr. Mazza cooked up. A plan that was blindly and irresponsibly endorsed by the management board of this government and nurtured along by the current Minister of Health. Here's the plan. Start a new aviation business. Take contracts away from experienced aviation companies that have been delivering excellent service to the province of Ontario for 2 decades. Force those companies out of business. Lower standards of operation. Reduce staffing levels, and to heck with patient care and crew safety. So, I want to ask the Minister this. If she doesn't have the capacity to get the job done and show leadership, why doesn't she step aside and let someone...
Thank you. Minister of Health. Be seated, please. Be seated, please. Thank you. Minister of Health.
Speaker, the member opposite has had no shortage of advice to offer when it comes to the operations of Ornge. He actually thinks the minister should decide what planes fly, what helicopters fly, what the qualifications of paramedics are, who should work and what their job should be. Speaker, I just reject that definition of what the responsibility of the minister is. My job, Speaker, is to put in place strong leadership and let them do their job. My job is to make sure that we have the oversight, Speaker, that we need to ensure that taxpayers are getting best value for their money and patients are getting the highest quality care. Speaker, if you look at the record that I have led, Speaker, we have done all of those things. The member opposite has different priorities, Speaker. My priority is to get care to the patient.
Thank you. From Newmarket, Aurora.
Speaker, my question is to the Premier. Speaker, I believe the galleries are full today. People are observing, question period. And I believe that one of the reasons that there is so much cynicism about the political process is because they have observed a Premier who has refused to engage in the debate that relates to one of the biggest scandals that has ever hit this province. For the Premier not to stand in his place and respect members of the opposition who put specific questions to him about this important issue is an insult to the members of the opposition. It is an insult to the people of this
Question.
province. And I would just ask him one more time, would he at least stand in his place? Would he at least look at the person who's asking him a question?
Thank you.
Would he have his say?
Thank you. Be seated, please. Be seated, please. Another reminder, when I ask you to be seated, you do so. And in particular, the questioners or the people giving the answers, when I ask you to be seated, you be seated, please. Premier.
Speaker, I'm delighted to take the question. Speaker, I want to begin by saying that I draw a distinction between the interest being expressed by my colleagues in opposition and our responsibility owed to the greater public interest, Speaker. I think that's an important distinction for us to draw. There is a political interest over there. They are pursuing that. That is their option to do so, Speaker. And in some ways, I would also argue it is their responsibility. But on this side of the House, our responsibility is to the greater public interest. And what does the public demand of us in these circumstances, Speaker? The public demands of us to act responsibly. So the Minister of Health, Speaker, sent in a team of forensic accountants. Given the results of that investigation, she turned it over to the OPP. She's cooperating fully with the provincial auditor, Speaker.
Thank you.
That's the way to act responsibly.
Be seated, please. Be seated, please. Thank you very much. Supplementary.
Back to the Premier. Speaker, here's what the public do not understand. Why does the government have to be dragged kicking and screaming into striking a committee that would only help to get to the truth about this scandal and would allow frontline staff to come forward and tell their story about how to restore confidence in our air ambulance service? A committee that would allow us to establish who knew what, when, and who was responsible for the actions taken.
Member from St.
The
Catharines, come to order.
Minister and the Premier may want to avoid the scrutiny of this committee, but we on this side and the public want that scrutiny. And that's why we tabled our motion yesterday that will force a debate and express the urgency of striking that committee. Will the Premier support striking that committee so that we can get...
Thank you. Premier. Be seated, please. Thank you. Premier.
Speaker, my honourable colleague raises an important issue. I think we're all looking for a foundation of objective, non-partisan, reliable information. So first of all, we've asked the police to conduct an investigation, and we look forward to the results of that objective investigation. The provincial auditor is looking into this matter as well, and we look forward to the results of that objective, non-partisan, arm's-length investigation, Speaker. Beyond that, Speaker, my House leader tells us that this is a subject that is going to come before a parliamentary committee, public accounts, Speaker. That's one committee there, Speaker. The Minister is also going to be introducing legislation which we will hope become the subject of a committee hearing in this House, Speaker. That's the second committee. So we have an open investigation, we have an auditor looking into this, Speaker, we have a public accounts committee, and we have a parliamentary committee looking into the bill itself. It seems to me we're going a long way.
Thank you. New question.